Installation begins with the removal of the stock tail housing. Using a pair of 10 snips, cut and remove the factory tail housing boot retention band. Once removed, the boot should slide off easily. Next is the removal of the dust shield. A couple of swift blows with a hammer and chisel should make quick work of this. Using the same chisel, pop out the factory oil seal. Don't worry if the tail housing gets banged up, you will not be reusing it. Next is the removal of the two snap rings within the tail housing. The larger snap ring retains the bearing to the tail housing, while the small snap ring isolates the bearing to the shaft. It is also a good idea to plug the breather vent. This will keep any residual oil from the planetary assembly from leaking out. Using the 1 1/8" impact socket, remove the front yoke assembly from the transfer case. Now you will need a 10mm socket for the removal of the tail housing bolt. Flip the transfer case up on its studs. This provides a fairly sturdy and easily accessible working environment. For removal of the tail housing, use a flat-bladed screwdriver or a pry tool as we have done here. Before attempting to pry the tail housing loose, double check to make sure you have removed both of the tail housing snap rings. Now it's time to split the case halves. Using a 12-point 10mm socket, remove the long black assembly bolt. A 15mm socket is used to remove the remaining assembly bolts. Just like the tail housing, the main case has special pry locations. These are indicated by the two black assembly bolts on either side of the case. The top half of the case should now be easily separated. Go ahead and remove the oil pump assembly. Set it and the removed case half aside. With a little wiggle and shake, you are now able to lift the chain and gear assembly free of the remaining case and set it on your work area. remove the snap ring that is retaining the gear assembly to the factory shaft. Pay close attention to the following procedure, as we feel it demonstrates the easiest way to swap the old shaft for the new SYE shaft. Using the new snap ring supplied with the kit, secure the gear assembly to the new shaft. Take an extra few seconds to make sure the snap ring is completely seated in its groove before continuing. Put on the brakes. Important information coming your way. Here you can see side by side the factory new process 231 shaft and the new Advanced Adapters SYE shaft. The Advanced Adapters SYE shaft is modeled after the late model TJ style new process 231 shaft. You can tell the shaft style by its absence of needle bearings and its direct shaft to gear contact. If you are installing this kit on an early model 231 with the needle bearings, they will need to be pressed out for proper fitment. Reassembly can begin by returning the shaft, chain, and gear assembly to the case. Advanced Adapters Tech Tip. With your transfer case shifted in the 4-wheel drive position, you should never need to completely disassemble the shift fork, rail, or hub assembly. However, if you find yourself in this situation, take special note of the shift mechanism and make sure all the lugs are in their proper position as seen here. Also make special note of the shift slider hub. The hub is thicker to one side of the fork groove than the other. The slider hub should always be installed with the thicker side facing the transfer case input. Be sure to thoroughly clean all mating surfaces with a wire brush and solvent before reassembly. At this point, you may choose to check your handiwork by attempting to cycle the assembly. It will not turn freely, as without the case top assembly, it is out of alignment and will bind. Apply a liberal amount of black RTV silicone. After the silicone has been applied and the case half reassembled, it is recommended to leave the assembly in this position for at least 1 hour to allow the RTV to cure. Reinstall the oil pump into the case half. Resecure the two case halves using the retained 15mm bolts, beginning with the black fasteners in the dowel positions. A thread locking compound is optional, however recommended. The 12-point 10mm bolt always goes in the bolt hole location opposite the tail shaft to the bottom of the case. Now all of the assembly bolts are torqued to 30 foot-pounds as per the factory service manual. Tail housing prep and installation is completed just the same as the main case. With your transfer case shifted in the four-wheel drive position, take a measurement of the shift rail stick out. If it is longer than 1 inch, it will need to be shortened to 1 inch. Oil pump installation is crucial. Take note of the pump orientation during reinstallation and make sure the pump's O-ring has not fallen out. Line up the pump pickup tube with the hole in the pump. The tube has a rib that will allow you to push the tube into its pump hole location. Install the 2 speedometer drive gear retaining circlips and the speedometer drive gear. You may now attach the new short tail housing to the case. The tail housing bolts are torqued to 18 foot-pounds as per the factory service manual. Yoke installation begins with a bead of RTV silicone. Now insert the supplied rubber star washer. Apply a film of assembly lube to the seal surface of the yoke. Now you may tighten down the locking nut. Make sure you leave the case assembly in this position for at least 1 hour to allow for the silicone to cure. Install the front yoke using the same methods that were used on the rear yoke. If your transfer case does not require a shift indicator switch, you may now plug the hole with the provided washer and 7/8 plug. Installation and assembly are now completed by torquing the front yoke to 110 foot-pounds as per the factory service manual and torquing the rear yoke to 140 to 150 foot-pounds as per the advanced adapter's instruction sheet.